Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting for Monday, July 11th, 2022. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us live tonight or for coming back to view the broadcast at a later time. Tonight's meeting, tonight's meeting is now called to order, and we'll begin with the opening prayer by Councilmember McBride.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Gracious Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for blessing us with life, health, and strength, the activities of our limbs. We pray tonight, Father, that you would continue to keep us healthy, keep us with our sound minds. We ask you to bless and protect the people in the town of Bladensburg and everywhere with all the gun violence. Help us to come to love one another, care for one another, and be mindful of one another. Think of one another as we think of ourselves. We ask that you keep us, that we work together in unity and strength. In your name we pray, Father. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Councilmember McBride. Mr. Tonelli, I know Mr. Gray will bring the flag up for us in just a moment, but do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Okay. You want to, oh, there's
there
the
we
flag.
go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I should have been standing, but you know, for Zoom.
Yes, we're on Zoom and the flag is virtual, so we understand. Not to worry. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of tonight's agenda. I'll wait until we get into discussion, but just want to make everyone aware that we will have to postpone the swearing in for Major Dickerson. So at the appropriate time, I'll just ask the council to amend that. But is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rao. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. May I have a modification to just table the swearing in of Major Dickerson until the September meeting? Other than that, I don't have any other recommendations. Any changes or edits from the council? Okay, I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda for item number 5 is the approval of meeting minutes beginning with the April 11th, 2022 regular minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Brown. Any discussions, corrections, or edits? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you. And for the June 6, 2022 regular meeting minutes, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any discussion, corrections, or edits? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Next, we'll turn the meeting over to our interim town administrator / town clerk, Mr. Charnovich, for reading the public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one public comment this evening from Mr. Steve Weitz. And before I read Mr. Weitz's comment, I just wanted to point out that Mr. Weitz, I did see your notes in the chat earlier regarding the meeting not airing on the cable station. And I just wanted to point out that rest assured that I'll look into the matter and we will do what we have to do to get that resolved ASAP. So I just wanted to point that out for you, Mr. Weitz. I saw your note in the chat. But here's the public comment. I appreciate the work that is being done on the Quincy Street project. I hope they can continue to work on this to get the Quincy Street project completed to provide a safe walkway for children and pedestrians. The rainwater drainage problem along the north side of Quincy Street has caused flooding and ice on Quincy Street for many years. The dirt washes down the dirt gutter and clogs up the street drain at the corner of Quincy Street and 48th Street. This causes flooding on the street corner. I am afraid there will also be flooding on the proposed sidewalk on the north side of Quincy Street. I'm asking that some type of cement or tile gutter be installed to provide proper drainage to prevent more flooding. There may be a pocket in the dirt gutter that needs to be leveled for a proper downhill slope. We also need to see if more plants are needed on the hills to prevent dirt erosion along the side of the gutter. We now have ARPA money available on State Highway to help us get a proper street gutter drain. So we need to fix this street gutter drain now while we have help available. Thank you, Mr. Steve Whites, town resident. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tarnovich. And then just for those who are tuning in this evening who did not hear the work session conversation, we next under unfinished business have an update on the Quincy Street, Maryland SHA project for SHA 769C. So Mr. Tarnovich, do you want to do a quick project summary for the public?
Sure. Sure I can, Mayor. Thank you. So over the last few months, the town and officials have held a public meeting on the topic. We've also been working to establish a survey for residents in the nearby and affected areas. Our police department community action team also worked to deliver info sheets on the proposed project to the businesses towards the southern end of 52nd Avenue that may be affected by a one-way street pattern. And SHA joined us at the work session earlier, as Mayor James mentioned, and went over the details of where they are in their planning process. It sounds as though that they still have some permitting and different things that they need to go through before they have their ultimate temporary design and also ultimately the final design. But it sounds like I think it was Ms. Myers who mentioned that this temporary design is a good way to help mitigate the challenges of the area currently, while the final design is still while it's still taking place. So I think that is the summary of where we are at this point with that particular project, and the public will be informed as their design continues. I guess I would say that we were striving to have some survey results back by earlier today, so I provided them to SHA so they could be ready for this meeting. But it sounds like they're willing to take more public input. So for anybody who happens to be watching, if you still have that survey that I know everybody's working so hard to get out there, feel free to fill it out electronically or reach out to me with any questions about the survey. So I think that's about it, Mayor, unless you would have others having to add.
Great. We appreciate that synopsis of the conversation this evening. And if the survey link could also be included in this week's e-blast, that would still be helpful, given that, as you mentioned, the administration is still open to receiving input. And I know when we were handing the survey out over the weekend, we made it clear, just send the input in, sometime this week as your schedule permits, because we do want to continue gathering that. So I think all of our efforts will help increase the number of respondents, especially for those affected in the immediate area.
And Mayor, one more quick thing on that, also for anybody who happens to, you're going to pass this along, everybody watching. So we did receive actually 4 hard copies of the survey, which I was able to manually input into the ultimate survey results. So I guess I wanted to point out that if we have those who just want to, write it in, do the check boxes and then submit them however you need to the town hall, we're also accepting those too. If you don't want to, if the person doesn't want to proceed with the actual online version. But yes, we will also share it on the e-blast again.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tarnovich. Councilmember Brown, I see your hand.
Thanks, Mayor. Just real quick, can we make sure that we are broadcasting on our Comcast channel as well? Can our
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Can he confirm
Yeah,
that? for us?
Yeah, so I did reach out during the work session directly to our videographer to let him know that there were challenges for those trying to watch on the cable channel. But since he's focused on the live meeting, he indicated he wasn't able to stop and focus on trying to get it up and running. So I did also ask Mr. Charnovich after today's meeting if he could just work with Mr. Gray to make sure that whatever the issue is that is preventing this is resolved, because
Yeah.
it has been several months of the
Several
same
months,
situation.
yes,
So
same
I just,
situation,
yeah, I
yes,
didn't
okay.
want to,
And a lot of
Okay.
our residents do view via the Comcast, yes, so.
correct.
Yes, okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you. Mhm.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. The next, well, I'm sorry, that concludes our items under unfinished business. And again, thank you, Mr. Charnovich, for those updates. We do want to get into financial business as it relates to ARPA funding, and wanted to just begin with having a update for the council and the community on our progress. What did we cover now that FY22 is over? I know it's the 13th accounting month, Vito, don't shoot me, but generally speaking, the year closed on June 30th. And so just to brief the council on how much actually was spent down from housing relief, whether it was mortgage or rental, I think would be helpful in sort of framing the needs of the community and what was best or highest utilized, so that we can move into the next part of the conversation, which is addressing immediate needs with ARPA funding. So we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Tonelli, for that recap.
Sure. Hello, Mayor and Council again, staff and members of the community watching. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Does everybody see it okay? Does it FY22 ARPA?
Yep, we can see it, and thank you for
Okay.
making it large.
Yes. Okay. What the Mayor and Council approved in FY22 was to spend up to $350,000 on ARPA funded projects. You can see the pandemic bonuses to staff, which equated to $100 per month of service from March 20th through March 2020 through June of 2022 for all eligible staff. That included the bonus plus the FICA tax as well. The public safety vehicle, the equip the public safety vehicle. I did put in computer and hardware because we had a lot of computer purchases this year that were needed, and these were one-time costs. And I want to take some pressure off of our current budget right now in FY22 as we're waiting for the dust to settle, as Mayor said, in the 13th month here, with July waiting for all the bills to come in and everything. I'm going to skip over the rental assistance. Well, I'll go ahead and address that right now. There's $100,000 allocated by Mayor and Council for rental and mortgage assistance. And when we paid out through qualified applications, almost $44,000 of rental assistance. I'm going to touch on a few other things before I come back to that. The Microsoft Exchange, which is our email system that is going, or as what you even heard, the Microsoft 365, its own Exchange server that will replace our Rackspace email system. We had some COVID test kits and masks, the school supplies for college, through the scholarship funding that we did. I believe that was in May. Our reverse 911 system, and our engineering fees for the municipal center. So through June, we've spent just over 246, or have spent $246,000 of the ARPA funds. Now, coming back up here to rental assistance, you can see at $44,000 already spent. We still have $76,000 in the pipeline. So really, if we go ahead and extend the rest of this, what was on here also was a shot spotter, but that is not going to be built until FY23. So that came out of what we were going to do, but the $76,000 we still have outstanding for folks that are in arrears through June. So that we can go ahead and pay out. And we've had and they are still actively coming in. So at some point we have to cut them off because we are into the second week of July, but it is for June rents. So it could qualify this as a FY22 expenditure because it is still for June. But as soon as we get any July amounts, they're going to have to be moved to FY23. So what does that leave us if we move the shop spotter out? And let's say all of these, when we go through all these applications again, are paid for, we'll still have a balance left of $27,000 that was not expended, that was allocated for FY22. Now, this can be used for other things, to take pressure off the financials, because again, I'm still waiting for the dust to settle. We had funds to cover any expenditures and excess of revenues to pull from the fund balance. I'd rather not do that. But again, I'm waiting to see how everything settles out. If that's a quick summary, I'm sure there's going to be questions. I try to keep it brief, but touch on the main points.
Yeah, this is helpful, Mr. Tonelli, and especially appreciate you calling out ShotSpotter because I know we were of the mind or understanding that was going to come out at FY22. So I understand it won't be billed until FY 2023. And then just with the housing, I knew there was a huge need, but to see that there's 76,000 still in the pipeline, oh my gosh, that's the kind of information we needed so we could help determine what we need to do for this next cycle. Give me a moment. I just want to scroll and see if there are any questions from the council.
And those come in like in quick waves too. And like there's other things going on. All of a sudden we get a huge batch and we're still looking at the few from before. And then a lot of these came in towards the end of June. So trying to process them and everything. So it's.
Yep. Okay. Give me one moment, because when the screen share pops up, it changes my view here. Councilmember Rout.
Thank you. For the rental and mortgage assistance, is there an allotted number of residents? Is it amongst 50 residents, 20 residents, just so that we could understand just the impact and the need?
It is 42 residents that are included in all of that, including paid and what's in the pipeline.
That is helpful to understand. Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. Councilmember Brown. Councilmember, we can't hear you. I think you're still on mute.
Okay, yeah, I put it. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Tonelli. Also, I think this is the time to announce it as well. Within the next week, I will be sending the postcard around for the councils to look at, and it's going to be the mailer, and that we're going to make sure that every household in the town of Bladensburg is aware of the funding, and we're also adding utilities to that as well as the rental and the mortgage assistance. Because I'm just so glad that we were able to directly impact and help residents, because especially who were affected, really, affected by COVID, with their, helping them out with their living situation. So that's very important. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Especially the mailer. Councilmember Brown came up with the idea of sending a mailer out to all of our residents to make them aware of the resources, because we know we're not reaching every single member of the community, even with the emails and with social media. And so the idea was to hit every home and apartment in the community to make them aware, so we can expand the scope of support that we're offering to the community. And so with that, Mr. Tonelli, again, thank you for that reference point and the breakdown, because I do think it's helpful in framing what the council wants to approve in terms of the immediate needs. I know some things, we don't have to do everything tonight. Some things will require more time and discussion. And so as the first item here, emergency rental and mortgage assistance, wanted to open it up to the council on a recommendation for this new fiscal year. And bearing in mind that when we put this plan together for FY22, we were already in the last quarter. And you see the amount that has been spent and what's in the pipeline. And so does 200,000 sound more appropriate? I just want to get an understanding from the council so we can at least have a starting point, because I don't see those applications stopping in the near future, particularly given that the county's ERAP program is not available to support residents. I think they've gone through the last round of funding that is available at this point. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor James. Yeah, I mean, I agree with at least a minimum starting with the 200,000, especially as you said, we were in the fourth quarter, and I just hope that once we do send out the postcards and hit each and every household and including utilities, that we probably will, get hopefully. I mean, if people need help, we'll get applications in. So I agree with the 200,000.
Vito, did you have a clarification in there?
When we discussed and passed the budget, we put in 281,000 for community assistance because we weren't sure where we wanted to put all the funding. So we put it into community assistance, which could capture all these buckets. You can fine tune that, obviously, or we can increase this as we see the need, because the ARPA funding is there, and maybe just gauge it, and maybe after September 30th, which will be the October or the November meeting, to see where we are, if we need to increase it, and see what we have in for utility assistance versus rental assistance versus mortgage assistance and business assistance. And I think we passed it because we didn't know what kind of mix that we would need or have. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vito. And I do recall that we just said that's the bucket. Let's put it aside and we can figure out the quantities once we get through the budget planning cycle. And so definitely if others feel differently, but was of the mindset of allocating per line item. So at least we can track overall what was allocated and spent, for FY22 on housing specifically. And on the other line items there, just so we don't lose track of the ability to see what the need was. But I want to go to the council members. Councilmember Blunt, I see your hand.
Yes, Mayor, just for clarification, the residents that we're helping with rental assistance, is this residents who have went to court or the landlord is making that decision for payment? How is that working? Or we don't have to talk about it now, but I'm just curious, how are you determining who actually need the help? The court system, the landlords, or this people? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a good question, council member. In some cases, the resident will reach out directly with the statement showing that they're behind and why, and they complete the application. In other instances, some of our apartment managers know who the residents are that are very, very delinquent, and they don't want to get into a situation where they have to be evicted. So the apartments are reaching out to us. In fact, Councilmember McBride really pushed at Autumn Woods, the Phoenix, Gateway, and Capitol View with management and following up with them just to make sure that they were responding. And they have, particularly Autumn Woods in particular, has definitely been pushing as they see that residents haven't been able to come up with those back rents. helping them to contact the town and get the applications and necessary paperwork completed and submitted. So it's a little bit of both. It's not all one or the other. But with respect to the courts, we haven't, had any sort of communication with the courts directly. I know some folks who contacted me actually had been given a notice. I guess it's from where they place it on your door.
Oh,
And
okay,
it's not an eviction notice. It's just saying you have a court date.
yes.
And so they have also reached out. I'm thinking of some of the folks that Councilmember Brown and I were working to assist. So it's been arranged.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Thank you.
Okay.
so much.
Councilmember Rout, sorry to go so long. I saw your hand, but just wanted to answer the question.
No, it's fine. I did send some, Councilmember Brown has spoke about utility assistance. I know for sure WSSC has some utility, I'm sorry. I take that back. Washington Gas does have it. Because I extensively spoke with both WSSC and Washington Gas at MML, and I sent that resource over to Mr. Sharnovich. And so I just wanted us to understand that we could be the payer of last resort as it relates to utility assistance. They have like their own set of ARPA dollars. I don't know where they got it from, but they got money too. And so if we could possibly assist residents to go that way, just to, and then we could, because I think that theirs is capped. And then once their cap is over, then we can pick up. That's just a recommendation for staff as they are processing. But I do think that we need to at least match what we did last year, because it looks like it's being eaten up by supporting residents in need. But to the same vein, there are not a lot of food options out here. And I know that was part of what we said that we were going to do when we were working on our budget session, those protein packs. As I was advocating for COVID testing here in Ward 1, I was asked by a couple of our Ward 1 residents if we would be doing any food supplements, because residents are having a hard time with, I guess, being food insecure. And so I did share the Stand Up and Deliver, but it's not really accessible. It happens, but it's not on a regular basis like it was during COVID. And, when residents are COVID, and they're not able to work, because they got to get better. So I just want us to remind ourselves about the food supplement. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Rout. And I know, as I mentioned before, we were in that final quarter of the year and just trying to make things available, but really didn't have the bandwidth to do everything. And it seems like the housing assistance jumped out there, but we did discuss doing the protein packets. And so there are some nonprofits in the community that we could partner with, to talk further about how we work with them to obtain that. If we, the town, purchase them, maybe we get their support in distributing the protein packets, as you said, with those who do Stand Up and Deliver. And that was something we talked about before. So, I'm happy to put that on my to-do list to just follow up, get the pricing, share that with you all so we can determine which direction we want to go in once the dollar amount is handled, so we make sure it's in compliance with what the council's will is. And then I can follow up with some of our partners to figure out how best to leverage their volunteers since they're already distributing. There's no sense in adding an additional distribution when we can tap into their resources if everyone agrees with that. Councilmember Brown.
Just real quick, I'm trying to be mindful of the time as well that's allotted for each section. And the other part too is really interesting with these utility companies and them having so much funding left. It's like, okay, did they distribute funding or did they make it a lot of red tape or something for people not to receive it? So it's just kind of interesting. It is because I saw the emails as well that they just have so much funding left and people are still in need. But that's just kind of comment. That's it.
Perfect. So given that we did kind of do the blanket number of 281 for our, I forget the term, Vito, was it community assistance or community? Okay, so within that, as we said, we can definitely allocate more. We have the trauma kits down here, and as Chief shared earlier, the cost for that is about $40,800 per the memo. So that we know is 40K. With regards to food assistance, Councilmember Brown, is your hand up? Or is that from earlier? Okay.
I don't think she put it down. But I
Okay.
don't want to speak for
Okay.
her.
For food assistance, Councilmember Rout, do you want to put what, 15K, 20K, so that over the course of the year, we can just do those protein packets, and then if the funding runs out, we see there's a greater need, we come back to the table and discuss upping that amount?
Yeah, that's fine. I just know there's a need now because this, kids are out of school. So, yeah.
Yep. Okay, got it. And then on business, and as Councilmember Blunt said, and nonprofit support, I do agree. This is a category we missed in the last cycle. Again, we did our best with the limited time that we had, but definitely want to be mindful of the business community. Many of them are still struggling and haven't fully recovered, and want to just put that out there. Again, if we're at 40K for the trauma kits, 20K for the food assistance, I do feel strongly we need to put a good number in here to help, because even a $5,000 grant for a business can go a long way with meeting payroll or rent or any sort of expenses that they have just, robbing Peter to pay Paul so they can keep the lights on. And so want to hear a recommendation from the council on what would make sense for business and nonprofit assistance. Okay, Councilmember Brown, your hand was up, but I can't tell if you took it down and put it back up.
She did.
I did.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Real quick, and definitely in support of the businesses, and I would like for Mr. Tonelli to, and not right now, but to provide us with the number of businesses in Bladensburg. And I think, and at least starting at the $5,000 amount, if that's what I heard from you, Mayor, I think that would be helpful to the businesses, but will also help us with to know the number of businesses. And then I think once the businesses, if they apply, that we make sure that as part of one of the requirements is to show that their business is actually an entity in Bladensburg, and that's be it, especially with the ARPA funds, and that's be it whether or not it's a for-profit or non-profit businesses. And typically to do that is that for them to show their previous tax bill, and wherever, if they are business entity registered, here in Bladensburg, it'll show on that tax bill. So that will, help us in determining that, to make sure that they actually, have a business physically located here in Bladensburg with the ARPA funds, because those ARPA funds are different from the town's grant funds that we give to businesses who help our residents. So.
Agree, all great points. Thank you for that. And just to clarify, before I move to the next council member, so if 5,000 is the amount for each grant for businesses and nonprofits, what would you recommend as the total? Do you want to start with 100,000 and see what the usage is here?
Well, I think once Ms. Tonelli tells us the number of businesses,
come back and revisit. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Actually,
I was gonna say Sean can tell us. Sean knows this stuff because he does the business licenses.
I saw him. Yes,
Officer Reinhardt.
We have 174 businesses. And that includes like ice cream vendors and stuff like that. So I'd say about 167, not including the ice cream vendors within town.
Oh, okay. With that, there you have it. Thank you for that, Mr. Reinhardt.
Perfect. So, and understanding not every business will need it, but again, it's a starting point and we can come back and discuss if that is another fund that goes quickly. I think folks would be on board with revisiting that. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, because
Yeah, I saw that. I
just
did the
I
same
was like, you
thing.
just-
835,000. I did it. I did the math.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot.
I saw it. It's funny. I saw the faces at the same time. I said, we all were doing our math. So that's what I'm saying. Let's just start just like we
Yes.
did with the housing, even if it's 50,000, just to see, okay, what's the utilization, and then take it up from there.
I mean, we
So
can do, I think 150, at least 150 to 200,000 for the businesses, because I mean, nothing has been done.
So I'm looking at 281 council members. So when I take away the 40K and then the 20.
No,
so-
we don't say that we could make
The math
Wait,
ain't
right.
mathing right now. Our math ain't mathing.
Right. ladies.
It's
No,
not
I'm
adding up.
teasing. I'm
It's not adding up.
teasing. Go ahead, Mr. Zanella, or sorry, Councilmember Rao.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear, because we do have businesses that are not located in Bladensburg, but service Bladensburg. So I just want to understand the council's pleasure as it relates to businesses that service Bladensburg.
as it relates to the opera funding.
Correct. Because, I mean, they service our residents because this is, I guess, Bladensburg is a part of their catchment area. It may or may not be because of a particular poverty level as it relates to their design of a business. And so, you know, I don't know how we would qualify a business if they are outside. Let's say, for instance, if they're headquartered in Baltimore, how would we qualify it? But I wanted to actually put that out there.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Rao. And I think it's a good thing to just make sure that everyone's on the same page, because if you're not licensed in Bladensburg, you're whatever it is, nail salon, clothing store, dry cleaners, it's not a Bladensburg business. I think it's pretty cut and dry. You don't pay taxes here, so you would not qualify for this funding. And there are other cities and towns who did receive ARPA dollars who can make that available. And so if you're, licensed and your brick and mortar is in Hyattsville, but you service our community, while that's great, we need to take care of home first with these dollars. We can revisit things later, but I think right now we need to start with a strong foundation and be consistent and considerate of those businesses who are here. They're trying their best to survive and recover, and they're still paying their taxes on time to provide them with relief.
I would say that for the nonprofits, they don't pay taxes, so we wouldn't see anything from them because they're a nonprofit organization. So that's just, I guess, my only delineation. If we are talking about including nonprofits, I understand it's very clear for the for-profits because they're taxpayers, but for the nonprofits, they don't pay taxes. So how would we quantify that?
Yeah, thank you for that, because initially you were saying businesses, but I think you're right to definitely have that delineation for our nonprofits too. If you are a Bladensburg nonprofit, then these ARPA dollars can be used to help you. And so I think we just need to start with Bladensburg.
Got it.
We really do. But that is my recommendation. Councilmember McBride, I want to make sure we pull you in, and Councilmember Blunt as well.
No, I was thinking the same thing. Let's look at Bladensburg first, and help, our businesses here. Because I know a lot of businesses are hurting at this present time.
And then on the nonprofit side, do you agree with really focusing on Bladensburg nonprofits and providing these grants to those who are established in our community versus if they're established in California, but they do something here or across town, in another municipality. Because that's what I was
Yeah.
putting on the table, is that we really need to support our Bladensburg nonprofits. We have not helped
Right.
any of them, even with the CARES funding. We did some good things, but that's just an area that we missed. And here's our opportunity to really help our local nonprofits.
Yes. The nonprofits also, yes.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Blunt, I just want to make sure we get a chance to hear from your standpoint.
Well, I'm in disagreement, but again, I'm in disagreement with that because I guess because of what I do, I work a lot in DC and Ward 8, but I live here. So, but at the end of the day, if that's the rule, that's the rule, but I do disagree.
Great, thank you. So it sounds like the majority does agree to focus on Bladensburg in terms of the nonprofit assistance, at least initially, to make sure that we're really trying to help build those that are based in our community and also serve in our community. And then just, I know there was reference to going back to
Mayor
Mr.
James, not
Tonelli in terms
based.
of,
Their address reflects their taxes.
exactly,
Because if
everything.
we say base, then that may, oh, I serve y'all. Your taxes, your statement, all your IRS paperwork needs to say the town of Bladensburg.
That is correct.
990.
Your 990, exactly.
Got it.
Yep, exactly. And I know I touched on that for the businesses, but just to be clear, that also has to apply for the nonprofit entities as well. All of your documents need to align with you actually being in the town of Bladensburg. And again,
Mayor,
this
I'm
is something
sorry,
we can, go ahead,
I'm sorry, just to
Councilmember.
jump, because even with our the residents who we're offering the assistance to, the rental and mortgage and stuff, I mean, they have to show proof of residency. They have to show proof that, hey, I really live in the town, and we get some official documentation from the mortgage company or from the property management people too. So we're not just, they have to show proof too. So
Right,
it kind of
right. They can't just be based in Bladensburg. They have
Very
to
good.
reside with a lease or a mortgage showing, yes, this is where they, yes, thank you.
It aligns with that. Thanks, yeah.
Agree. Okay, fantastic. Any other comments as it relates to the immediate needs for ARPA funding? So just to clarify what, because I want the staff to be also clear on the amount. So for emergency rental and mortgage assistance, the amount that we feel comfortable with is, drum roll please. Looking over 43. So we
Our math
budgeted
ain't
100.
mathing.
It's not, we're gonna have
It's
to
not
make
mathing.
adjustments because right now we're at 221. So
Right.
even if we just start with another 100 for the rental and housing assistance, and then, yep. And if we also say, let's just say 21K, because to Councilmember Rout's point with the utility assistance, we can go to WSSC and Washington Gas and even do the same with Pepco to try to get utility assistance from them and then come back and supplement. So if we put 21K under utility assistance, now we're down to a remaining 100K, and we could split that between or actually allocate that to the businesses or do 50K to the businesses just to see what that cadence is, and put the other 50 to the mortgage assistance. My only reluctance in putting such a high number in mortgage assistance is we didn't get utilization. We had one homeowner, I think we were working with under the mortgage assistance. I'm not sure what the outcome was.
Yeah,
but
until we send out the mailer, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
fair until we hit every door. So would 21K for utility assistance be okay with the council just as a starting point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so again, that leaves us with 100K. So we need to determine for business support and nonprofit, business and nonprofit support, do we want to do 50K there and then leave the remaining 50K for the housing, the mortgage assistance, just to see if that mailer causes an uptick in those cases? And if after the first quarter, we come back and assess, I think we have the flexibility to do that.
Well, why can't we just give we already know that there are 167 businesses. So, I mean, if we're trying to help at least half of those businesses, I mean, 50,000, I just don't think it's enough for the businesses.
So I believe we'll have to do another budget ordinance to move over the additional funding, or actually because
Mr. saying? Because Mr. Tonelli, he keeps saying that the opera money is there. We can make the adjustments.
Councilmember Brown, one moment, Councilmember Brown. So just to be clear, we put in the budget the 281 for under community assistance, but we put in roughly 1.3 million, I think that was, Vito, overall on ARPA funding for this year. Can you just
1,140,000.
Okay. So
sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. So given that this was just what was allocated under community assistance, what is our process if we want to up this right now?
I would really say wait. Again, wait to see how it's going, because I'd hate to jump out in front and do a budget amendment right now when we don't know. I mean, we can just keep going through, give you monthly updates and do a running balance. And Mr. Charnovich and I were talking about this earlier, maybe do just look at it in December to do a budget amendment based on the need. If we go over, as long as you all say it's okay, but we'll go through the process and everything. And then we have better information the further along we go, because right now, we can stay within these guidelines, but let's see what we actually, I guess, encounter, and then come back to, then staff will come back to you all with an update, because some of these things, I'm just seeing like our small staff now, like the business assistants and everything. A lot of this, we might have to wait till we get the ARPA manager on board in order to do this effectively. So this could be another month out, before a lot of these funds start going out and everything. That's just my thoughts. So,
but I do see your point to do the budget ordinance, and then it's not even, we do it, but then it proves to be unnecessary because we're not even spending at that level.
I mean, yeah, if you give us guidelines, we'll follow the guidelines, and as we go over this total community assistance grant, I mean, line item, we'll come back and you have full updates on how we can reallocate the funds, because there is more funds out there. I mean, as Councilmember Brown said, this is just what we started with FY23, knowing that there is more out there that we can go ahead and add to it. So again, there's a lot of uncertainty, and as we talked about, we didn't see a lot of the rental assistance come in until May and June. So it's getting the word out and then processing and everything.
Gotcha. Councilmember Rout.
Thank you, Mayor James. I do think that we need to look at this on a quarterly basis, just because with the summer months, we may see an uptick as it relates to, because people are re-getting COVID, and they can't work. So that means that they can't pay their bills. So I do think that we need to follow the data, but as of right now, we know that we may have to come back in September and do a budget ordinance. I think Mr. Charnovich, Mr. Tonelli, if they can just keep track of it and then let us know, while we're on recess, and we may have to come back at our September meeting. But I do think for right now, we should just do 50-50, 50 for businesses. I don't think it's enough for businesses, but just to get us started, because I know once Town Council member Brown, once she does that every door direct mail, residents are, people are hurting. So I just think we just start here just to get the programs up, but knowing that we're going to have to come back and we're going to have to make some changes.
And I like that strategy of just getting some data like we did in this last quarter of the previous fiscal year. It really just helped to do that test run and see what the pattern of behavior was and the need so that we could adjust accordingly. So thank you for that feedback. Councilmember Brown. Councilmember, you're on mute.
I clicked it, but I didn't click it off. But now I said, thank you, Mayor, and thanks for the comments, and thank you, Councilman Wright. Well, I'm absolutely right, following the data, but then I still go back to the same thing is that I'm bleeding now. So, so right now I got to wait, for like a month or two for you to suture me up, and I'm bleeding now, and I need help. So, but if that's if we say the 50,000, then we'll revisit it. And maybe monthly instead of quarterly, but we know that businesses were hurting over the past 2 years. And we know that whatever little assistance or whatever can be given to them, I'm sure they would definitely be appreciative. But yes, there are the guidelines and stuff put in place, but as I said, it's been, we're 2 years now in businesses. It's very fortunate that they've been able to survive. And I mean, we're not going to save their business, but every little bit helps. But I'm with the with whatever the will of the council is. But people are bleeding and hurting now, just like with the food and so forth. So the more immediate, I think the better off. The assistance will definitely make a difference.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And we don't want to leave anybody bleeding and not sutured up. So we just don't want to build a hospital for 1,000 people if the hospital is only needed for 50. So we just starting small. And I will say the beauty of this team is that we are nimble. And so if at the end of August, let's say, if the council receives an alert from Mr. Tonelli and Mr. Charnovich that we've depleted that, we're all here. We can virtually assemble a Zoom and be responsive. And that's what I appreciate about the team is that we just want to get something going. And if we have to adjust, we will make that move quickly. They don't need to wait 6 months for relief. We're not going to put them through that. We are well past our time on this discussion, but it is important. Yes, but one quick thing, we did not cover the emergency flooding assistance, which was also listed under this category. So wanted to call that out. Go ahead, Mr. Tonelli.
Can I just share my screen real quick? Just make sure I have what everybody is. Can you see the Excel sheet?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same, page here. I think I missed something. So we started with a 281, 267, right? 40,000 for trauma kits, and this is your running balance over here. Mm-hmm. Food assistance, we marked out 20. Utility, 21,267 gets down to an even 200. And then I was a little gray on where we're going to fall in here.
Yep. So with business assistance, we were discussing 50K to start for business and nonprofit support. Mm-hmm. And then under rental relief, mm-hmm. We had, I thought we said 100K.
Okay, that's what I'm missing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've got housing. And then as I just mentioned a moment ago, there was an incident the holiday weekend where residents were impacted by some flooding. And I don't want to alarm everyone. This was not at the scale of September 2020. But there were some challenges with homeowners who experienced some flooding, and we're talking anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 3.5 inches of water. And I did visit those residents and just mentioned that previously the council did have an emergency flooding or emergency assistance program, and that kind of came out of what happened with the flash flood in 2020, and simply mentioned I would bring it up to the council to inquire as to whether or not there would be interest in funding that in this new budget cycle with ARPA dollars. And as you may recall, it wasn't specifically for funding, it was emergency period, because whether it's a derecho or flooding, the idea was just to help homeowners in an emergency situation where maybe they're waiting on several things to happen, but they have to do some immediate mitigation to remove the water, to dry things out, to help try to prevent molding and things like that. So wanted to also put that on the table, but understanding that definitely puts us over in this area. So Councilmember Rout, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor James. I do think that the comparison of the two events is definitely, we're not speaking like apples to apples, because in September of that September 10th flood, the homes were not habitable. And the derecho, the people had to be removed out of their spaces and out of their homes. And so I do think that the town council should take that into consideration as it relates to emergency assistance, that there needs to be, not that a flood is not an emergency, but the individuals living in the home have to be displaced in order for the town council to be able to step up, because, you know, we have residents that, you know, have greater needs. Not to say that their flood is not important, you know, because there are things that are not going to be covered by homeowners insurance. And given the conversations that we've had over the weekend, as you know, this had taken place with Chief Collinson, acting town administrator Shanovich, you, Mayor James, you know, that I think that's all the difference is displacement. So if we are doing something, I would like for us to have a fund for those who are truly impacted and displaced. Are you?
And that really just was the heart of why we came up with this. Mr. Tonelli and I were visiting, I won't say the name of the resident because Councilmember Rout was out there, Officer Reinhardt, several of us. But I remember specifically talking to Mr. Tonelli about trying to do it. And that was the whole idea behind that fund. This was for extreme situations where your home is underwater. And so if we don't, you know, necessarily see the urgency in doing that tonight and really thinking through and giving everyone time to go back through the budget, figure out where we can pull this from. If you don't want to pull it into the ARPA discussion, I think that's fine. But we already have a program kind of stood up and ready to go. All it needs is the funding. We've got the application. We know what the requirements are for proving the level of devastation in order to qualify. And the council, like last time, was very flexible in getting immediate resources. Residents pitched in and helped and put care packages together along with Councilmember Rout. So I feel like if there is something immediate, we have at least, you know, an action team that can assist while we think through a bit more on how best to fund it. So I just didn't want to overlook that. So just let me know, Councilmember Blunt, McBride, Brown, Rout, do you want to just hold that so we actually go back through the budget, look at the funding and where it makes most sense to pull it from, if not ARPA and part of the resources that we're allocating tonight?
I would say yes, by all means. Yeah. Because I mean, we need that fund available.
Great, thank you, Councilmember McBride. Yes, Councilmember Brown.
I'm sorry, Mayor, so I'm answering the question correctly. Are you saying to wait and what are you saying?
So I'm asking, do you want to loop that into tonight's discussion under ARPA, or table that until September and we come back with where we want to pull that funding from after everyone's had a chance to look at the budget and come up with some recommendations?
I say table it until September. I mean, because I mean, if anything disastrous happens right now, it's there, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's.
All right, Councilmember McBride, before I go forward, are you in agreement as well with Councilmember Brown's recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Blunt.
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Rout?
I agree as well.
Okay, great. So with that, we have a plan for the $281,000 for the initial ARPA funding under our community resources. Is there a motion to approve the use of the funds as the council has discussed this evening?
I so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The next item on tonight's agenda is under new business. And we did cover this in the work session, and definitely appreciate the team calling out that this was placed in the budget, money for a project manager to help us with not just Bostwick, but also with the municipal center project, just because those are major capital improvement projects. And so we have definitely the funding in the budget, and just want to get a guidance or a vote from the council really to just make sure we're all in agreement with moving forward with the RFP process. So is there a motion?
I so moved.
Moved by Councilmember Blunt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any further discussion? Councilmember Rout?
Yes, thank you, Mayor James. I'm just not clear as to are we
Sure,
saying the
we're-
whole dollar amount? Are we parsing it out? Two project managers, one for Bostwick, one for the capital project for the town municipal center? I'm sorry, I'm just not clear.
Sure. So the motion is for proceeding or directing staff to proceed with a Bostwick House project manager RFP. So we're
Just
not,
Bostwick.
yeah, just Bostwick at this time.
And the dollar amount?
We did not indicate the dollar amount because that'll be part of the proposals that we receive, unless who made the motion? Councilmember Blunt wants to amend the motion to include the dollar amount for the RFP.
We can.
Okay. So Councilmember Blunt, would you amend the motion and just insert the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Rout.
No, I'm just asking, are we expending so this, just point of information, are we expending the entire line item just
Oh,
for
no.
Bostwick?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
We're just focused on RFP for a project manager to help us with the Bostwick House as we discussed in the work session. And so not incorporating the town center project at this time. Again, we don't have a full-time town administrator at the moment, so I
Okay.
wasn't trying to overwhelm
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
staff
Thank you.
with both at the same time. So it was just trying to move Bostwick forward because there are firms that have already expressed interest and would be able to get some proposals in once that RFP is publicized. And so just to get the ball rolling there.
No, I understand now, because I was
Okay.
like, the whole line item.
Oh,
for
no.
one?
There were
Right, thank you.
several that were put in there. Thank you
Thank you.
for asking about the clarification, because others may have had the same question. All right, so we're good moving forward. Any other clarifications or questions? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Next, we'll turn it over to Mr. Charnovich for new business item B, which is the resolution concerning installing of speed cameras on state of Maryland roadways.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Tonelli is going to help and assist me with pulling it up on the screen for those watching. So as I read this into the record. And I guess for point of information, the agenda, there's a misunderstanding. The agenda should state ordinance related to this topic as opposed to resolution, two distinctly different things. So what we are considering tonight is an emergency ordinance. It'll be emergency ordinance number 3 of 2022. And I will read this into the record for the public. An emergency ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg to amend chapter 112 vehicles in traffic 112-12, speed monitoring systems in school zones to authorize the placement of speed cameras on highways and residential districts with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. Whereas pursuant to section 5-202 of the local government article, annotated code of Maryland, the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg have the power to pass such ordinances as deemed necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the municipality and to prevent and remove nuisances. And whereas pursuant to section 21-809 of the transportation article, annotated code of Maryland as amended, the town has authorized operation of a speed monitoring system to enforce the speed limit in school zones for increased public safety. And whereas 21-809 was amended by the state legislature effective in October of 2021 to also authorize the municipalities in Prince George's County to place speed cameras on highways in residential districts with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. And whereas the mayor and council have determined that it is in the public interest to conform the town code language to that of amended 21-809 and authorize the placement and use of speed cameras on highways in residential districts with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. Section 1, now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg that chapter 112, vehicles and traffic, 112-12, speed monitoring systems in school zones, be and it is hereby repealed, reenacted, and amended to read as follows. 112-12, speed monitoring systems in school zones and on highways in residential districts. For emphasis there in caps, you'll see the and on highways and residential districts. Letter A, the town, through the Bladensburg Police Department, is authorized to operate a speed monitoring system to enforce the speed limit in a school zone with a posted speed limit of at least 20 miles per hour in conformance with 21-809 Transportation Article, annotated Code of Maryland as amended, and on highways and residential districts with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. Letter B, before activating a speed monitoring system, the town shall publish notice of the location of the speed monitoring system zones on its website and in a newspaper of general circulation in the town. Ensure that each sign that designates a school zone or on a highway in a residential district with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour is proximate to a sign that A, indicates that speed monitoring systems are in use in the school zone or on a highway, and B, is in accordance with the manual and the specifications for a uniform system of traffic control devices adopted by the State Highway Administration under 25-104 of the Transportation Article, annotated Code of Maryland. Ooh, need a water break here. Some serious legalese here. Letter C. A speed monitoring system in a school zone may operate only Monday through Friday between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. A speed monitoring system on a highway in a residential district with a maximum posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour may operate 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. And note that section in all caps there. Letter D, if the town moves or places a mobile or stationary speed monitoring system where a speed monitoring system has not previously been placed, the town may not issue a citation for a violation reported by that speed monitoring system. Number 1, until signage is installed in accordance with subsection B of this section, and number 2, for at least the first 15 calendar days after the signage is installed. Letter E, the town council is hereby authorized to designate school speed enforcement zones and highway speed enforcement zones consistent with this section by resolution. Section 4, and be it further ordained that this ordinance is introduced as an emergency measure to ensure traffic and pedestrian safety, and according to section 209 ordinances and resolutions of the town charter, is adopted at the same meeting at which it is introduced and shall take effect immediately. Section 5, and be it further ordained that if any section, subsection, provision, sentence, clause, phrase, or word of this ordinance is for any reason held to be illegal or otherwise invalid by any court of competent jurisdiction, such invalidity shall be severable and shall not affect or impair any remaining section, subsection, provision, sentence, clause, phrase, or word included with this ordinance. It being the intent of the town that the remainder of the ordinance shall be and shall remain in full force and effect, valid and enforceable. Introduced by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg at a regular meeting on July 11, 2022, and thereafter this ordinance was prominently posted in the town hall and available for inspection by the public. Adopted by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland, at a regular meeting and effective on July 11th, and I noticed a typo there, effective on July 11th, that should read 2021, not 2019. And I know I stated this I'm sorry, 2022, not 2019. I know I stated this in the work session. For those who weren't tuned in at that point, just for the record's sake, this particular ordinance was drafted and reviewed by the town's legal counsel. So we have that on the record. Thank you, Mayor.
And thank you, Mr. Charnovich, for reading the emergency ordinance. But I do want to just clarify, when you started out, I believe you said 3-2022, but the document says 1-2022. So I just want to make sure when I call for the motion, I have it correct.
Yes, that number 1 is a typo too. I read it without indicating that it was a typo.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be 3.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So
Thanks
with
for
that,
clarifying. Sorry about that.
no, we want to get this right. This is critically important. So with that and the reading of emergency ordinance 3-2022, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any further discussion or questions or clarifications? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. The emergency ordinance 3-2022 has passed. Chief, thank you for your diligence in moving this forward along with
long
Mr.
time coming.
Charnovich. Yes, it has. And also please express our thanks to our town attorney as well, because I know she had a critical role in this as well. So I appreciate the teamwork. Next up, we had the MML recap, and we are already past 8:13. So I wanted to ask the council if you would be open to rolling that into your monthly report. From the staff side, Mr. Tonelli, I know you attended, so if you could roll that into yours so we can try to make up a little bit of time, because we still have to get through all the staff and council reports. Would that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. The next item that I wanted to bring forward is a motion to approve August recess. Anytime a change is made to a council meeting per our charter, you do have to make that change and publicize it to the community at the prior meeting. And so wanted to call for a motion to go into August recess following tonight's meeting.
I so moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Blunt, seconded by Councilmember Rao. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Sounds like some folks have vacation in August lined up. So there was like quickness
I'm out of
on that.
here. I'm out
Right.
of here.
She's
It's
going-
birthday
right.
month.
That's right. There you go.
Right, Trina?
That's right, birthday month.
That's right.
We out of here. We out of here. Don't
Oh,
call
no.
us. We'll call you.
Are the Leos taking over? Oh, geez. Next up, we will move into item 11 on the agenda, which are staff reports, beginning with the treasurer's report. And as you come off mute, Vito, I want to say great job with the business personal property tax that you led at MML. I'd snuck in there just to take some notes and see how good of a presenter you are, and you did not disappoint. So great job.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, MML gave me half an hour, and everybody quickly realized it could have gone an easy full session, an hour. So it was very engaging. So, and had quite a few people there, which is nice. So, real quick, financial recap. I'm conscious of the time. I'll show my report really quick. Okay, now this is through May because again, we're still finalizing June. So I feel like this information is dated, but it's the most complete information we have right now because May is done. You can see through May, our total revenues here. Does everybody see a screen? I can't see on my end. Okay, good.
Yes,
okay.
we see it.
Okay, beautiful. We've received 88% of our budget revenues. Now, there's a big item in here, the fund balance transfer. That's why we're not closer to 100%, okay? Because we haven't pulled anything from this fund balance transfer, i.e. our savings account, you know, in layman's terms. But you can see we received all the personal property tax revenues, about all the business personal property tax revenues, income and other tax. We're not going to see the final June collection until I'm hoping this week. So that's why it's only at 83% through May. License and permits, again, this is through May, 84%. That's pretty much on target. And I'm sorry, over here in the other column is how we did last year in comparison to how we're doing this year. Our Fed, state, and county funding is doing better than last year. We're still waiting on our fourth quarter payments for the state funded programs like the highway user revenues and also for the police aid. Service charges are only 10% because there's $100,000 in there for traffic enforcement, which isn't starting until after the budget ordinance was done, until FY23. So we're not going to see much change in this one. Other revenues that exceeded with budget, and those include insurance reimbursements. And you can see the ARPA transfers. That's what we've done through May, which I shared earlier. We haven't brought over anything from the fund balance transfer yet. Scroll down, you can see some of the department budgets. They're pretty much all in line, which is right on budget for everybody through May. Public Works is pretty light because we're down the Public Works Director and also Public Works Worker that was budgeted but not added because we talked about waiting until the Public Works Director came on to see the workload, and that hasn't happened yet. So that's why it's only 61% of the budget. And ARPA, which we've already just talked about, that's 58% of what the council wanted to spend, allocated at $350,000 through May. So right now, going into June, we have a $328,000 surplus still, but June was an expensive month. We had the community events, and we got hit with what we talked about last meeting with the trash collection increase. That almost doubled because of the fuel surcharges. Fuel is up about $12,000 in the month of June. We're getting hammered on, we're starting to see the commodity prices come through our budget now. So that's putting pressure on FY22 right now. But it's too early for me to say. I need a couple more weeks, just to work everything out. Possibly by end of next week, I'll know where we are through June, and I'll keep the council updated. I know that we just talked about an August recess, but when we come back in September, and also we are starting the audit as well. So that will be going on while we're in recess. We hope to start that at the beginning of, I think, like right around August 1. So
right on
again,
time. Right on time. That was it's like nothing's going on in finance, right?
Yeah, I know.
At all.
But the big joke is, I'm trying to find a good time to take off, but it's like, Something always happens, but that's fine. The full financials are in here. Sorry, I got sent so late, but they are in the packet and everything. And MML recap, just talked about that. I spent a lot of my time talking with the vendors, and I got some I have to follow up on. I mean, there's a lot of great vendors there. I think I got just as much out of that as I did any of the sessions. I was kind of sad. I mean, not sad, but I was surprised that they all packed up at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. I thought they would at least they should. There are people that want to talk to them, and they pack. I'm like, wait a minute,
It's a lost opportunity for sure.
I think so.
So maybe in the survey, that's feedback we could share, because I know a lot of us are in the Academy of Excellence and prioritize trying to get our core classes and electives, with sometimes limits the amount of time you have to go talk to the folks in the exhibition hall. So I think it would be good feedback to let them know we want to give that traffic, but it's just tough when you're trying to run upstairs to a class or back-to-back classes.
And it's also tough because like the ethics one, I was asked to leave because I already had it, but I like to get the update because, you might get the updates and, Jim said, Vito, you've already had this, you gotta save some room. I'm like, okay. So it's someone down to the exhibition hall and I'm trying to catch the ones that weren't packed up yet. So but it was all good. It was all good.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that.
But that's all I have.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I try to keep the 5 minutes. But,
it's hard. Yeah, no worries. And it's actually 3, so that's probably why it goes fast. So Chief, Chief, you're up next with public safety and code enforcement.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'll be really brief. I know it's time is past us, but I'll be really brief. I did submit my monthly report. You can read it in detail, but I just want to highlight some of the great work that the guys did. We did meet on June 10th. We did meet with the schools to talk about safety and security of the staff and students. And I want to thank the Mayor and Council again for approving the trauma kits. We had a movie in the park on June 22nd. We definitely wanted to take time to recognize our hardworking staff. Everyone does a good job throughout the year, but this year we had Civilian of the Year, PIO Kim Green, Community Officer of the Year. Corporate Tanks League does a great job with engaging the community with outreach. Investigator of the Year, Detective Sergeant Ramirez, and Police Officer of the Year was Officer Pickering. In addition to that, we celebrated our explorers. Many of them have graduated and are still being a part of the Explorer program. And I want to just thank them for always stepping to the forefront to help out the town when we have events. Corporate Tanksy and the CAT team did an amazing job. I want to thank Councilmember McBride and Councilmember Ralph for showing up and supporting the Explorers. And I know the mayor, you were, you had other engagements at that time for the presidents, and we understand. We always thank you for your support. This month we had 813 calls for service. So the officers, our staff are doing a great job. They continue to be out there. I just want to take a minute, Rick, if you could put up the deputy chief picture there, I appreciate it. We just hired a deputy chief. So I do have some help now. I'm looking forward to him. He would have been here today, but unfortunately, he had a medical emergency that he had to be transported. So I would like to, Rick, are you able to get his picture up? Deputy Chief Cedric Dixon comes to Bladensburg Police Department with over 33 years of public safety experience. He served over 23 years with the Prince George's County Police Department and obtained the rank of Major. He was a district commander prior to retiring in January 2022. Deputy Chief Dixon served as District 5 Clinton Commander for approximately 6 years and served as the District 5 Assistant Commander for approximately 1 year. Deputy Chief Dixon served in various assignments throughout his career as Prince George's County Police Officer, to include District 5 Commander, District 4 Shift Commander, Special Operations Division K9 Supervisor, National Harbor Unit Supervisors, and Shift 3. I think I'm ending with there because I think he did we selected an excellent candidate to serve as the #2 to lead the Bladensburg Police Department, and I will tap out at this point. Did I go over, Mayor?
It just went off, so that was perfect timing. But we didn't get code, so Officer Reinhardt, do you want to do a brief code update?
Sure, I can do a brief code update. I'll only take about a minute. I just want to remind residents, this time of year, I know a lot of people are starting to do their spring cleaning and everything. I just want to remind them about their bulk trash and everything. Make sure that you put your bulk trash out on the night before, which is Thursday evening, and be sure to contact Bates. They can be reached at 301-773-2069. And if you have any questions for code enforcement, feel free to reach me. I'm R. Reinhardt at bladensburgmd.gov, or the easy one to remember is code at bladensburgmd.gov. That goes to myself and Miss Tomai Tolliver. And we do have another gentleman that should be starting with us next week to fulfill the code position. Mr. Barry Wade, retired from Prince George's County Code Enforcement, also has many years of municipal code enforcement. So we're excited to bring him on board for some more insight and some better ideas to make the town a better place. That completes it.
That is excellent. Congratulations on your new hire and being fully staffed. Finally, yay. And Chief, also congratulations to you in hiring Major Dixon. We are so thrilled to have him on board and look forward to the opportunity to swear him in at an upcoming meeting. So thank you for expanding the team in the right way. Next, we'll move forward with the interim town administrator and town clerk report.
Thank you, Mayor. Since I'm also briefly presenting Mr. Hall's report, do you mind if I start there?
No, go right ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hall, a public works supervisor, provided his report to me. I forwarded it on to the town council a bit earlier in the day today. So during the month of June, Public Works worked on a variety of topics. Just a few of the highlights that they worked on. They assisted the police department installing speed enforcement photo signs on 57th Avenue. They worked on pothole repair. They worked on repairing a speed hump sign on Newton Street. They took place in a CPR first aid training course here in the town hall, actually, and they're all going to be certified in that. So that's great. It was great news. And I guess maybe last but not least, I know, and this will kind of dovetail into my own report, but last but not least, I know Public Works, at least leading up to the July 1 event, fireworks event, was very helpful in helping me and Mr. Jeffries with historic precedent on what had been done there and things of that nature, what we needed to do to have a wonderful event. So I know that the planning up to the event in June and also the day of, they were extremely helpful and essential for the success of that event. So that concludes Public Works. If I dive into town clerk and interim town administrator, I can kind of maybe merge those two together. I guess one, not to lose the flow from the last item on Mr. Hall's report, but I guess just a quick thank you. I know I shared this on the leadership call we had the day after July 4th, I think it was, with the mayor and our leadership team. But since everybody's on the call, just a thank you to Mr. Jeffries and everyone who was involved, law enforcement, with the July 1 event. It was my first time, being at that event. I thought it was amazing. The energy was wonderful. And it was just a great to be a part of. And again, thanks to Mr. Jeffries for leading that charge and working to make have a very nice event for the community. It's a fantastic turnout. And it sounds like another topic. I don't have a formal report, but so this week we are. I know this is going to probably bring a smile to many faces. We are still working to convert from Rackspace to the Microsoft Exchange. This week, our IT contractor is going to be working on the getting into the nuts and bolts on that. There's a lot of stuff on the back end that needs to happen before you kind of flip the switch and say, you know, we're going to do this. But I guess now would be a decent time to do it. Not that we expect anything to go wrong, but now that we're heading into an August recess, we can, you know, work out any kinks. But we don't want that to happen. But that should be happening here in the next week or two, hopefully. I'll be collaborating with all the department heads to get that moving and get that done. So it sounds like I'm going to be on a separate topic. I'm going to be a little bit in RFP land for the next few weeks. You know, RFPs for the Bostwick House, and also for the Mr. Tonelli touched upon with the refuse and recycling that needs to get moving here soon. So we can't bear that cost forever. So we need to see what we're gonna do there. And I'm sure that my 3 minutes is I'm probably already over it. So I don't want to break any rules.
I gave you a little extra just because you did 3: clerk, administrator, and public
Thank
works.
you.
But thank you for that.
I will conclude on one quick thing, and that is that, you know, with 60 days until the next meeting, I will be in communication regularly with the town council and the mayor. It's not like we're going to go, you know, we're not going to go blank here with 60 days till the next meeting. Maybe I'll send out a bi-weekly report or something like that, or I don't want to put too much onto myself, but something at least I'll be checking in regularly, informing the mayor and council what all is going on here internally, what we're prioritizing. So I hope everybody enjoys the August recess.
Thank you for
everyone.
that. Thank you, Mr. Charnovich.
Thank you.
Now we'll move into item 12 with mayor and council reports, beginning with council member Rout for Ward 1.
Thank you, Mayor James. I provided my report to the interim town administrator, and Mr. Jeffries is going to post it on our town website. So any resident, feel free to view it. I just want to, a part of my report, just say how proud I am of the Bladensburg team. Mayor James really took the lead in securing the funding for the Bladensburg center that will be providing workforce development to our students. And that is big. I recently took a job working for the federal government, and to get an earmark, that's like huge. To get an earmark for something and the dollar amount, it almost never happens. And so, you know, I want to give Mayor James her props because she really took the lead on that. And I wanted to make sure that I let the public know that yes, we are a team, but she definitely led that. And I appreciate that for believing in our children. It's amazing that earmark, that's phenomenal. I've responded to community's concerns in Ward 1, residents. Y'all really working me over here. Your contact for everything. But look, we are working together, and I appreciate all residents' patience as it relates to mitigating these issues. We are on a fast track with community service driven. Bladensburg does care, but there are things that we have to prioritize. When we talk about public safety, we are prioritizing safety. We are making sure that no one's getting robbed on, you know, with these guns that's out in these streets. And so I just appreciate all of the residents as it relates to your concerns with the fireworks, with trash, with code. Not that that's not important, but we are a small department. We're small, but we're mighty. I'm not trying to make excuses. We are holding each other accountable, but I would like to just say residents continue to advocate for our community, but please give us an opportunity to respond. But I'm a resident too. We live here. I live here. I hear the same things that you all hear as it relates to the fireworks. I see the same trash. We can all get together and be a community, and we can work on this together. It does not always have to fall on our staff. So I'm charging the residents to partner with the town council and the staff to all of us collectively together improve our community. I yield back.
Thank you for that report. And I truly appreciate the acknowledgement of the effort with the federal earmark, or as I was corrected, the congressionally directed spending request, the formal name. But I can't take credit for that. I mean, I tried to work it, but Senator Cardin ultimately got us that funding. And so we'll just work together to make him proud that he did that. And I've already told Senator Van Hollen I'll be on his team next time for the next phase of the work. So just trying to do it in a phased approach, but definitely appreciate the acknowledgement, but also the support from everyone on the call and all of our partners who came out for that event. You all are amazing and showed the senator the importance of what he did for our community. So again, thank you, Councilmember Rao, and thank you to the team. Councilmember Brown, also from Ward 1, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and also thank you for that, Councilmember Rout. But yes, thank you, Mayor, definitely for leading the charge. You just really doing a wonderful job. And also just want to continue to thank our staff, because our staff, I mean, just every day they are there, they available and working really hard for our residents. MML was great, just re-engaging and attending a lot of the workshops, but something's particularly that I do want to discuss and bring back from the Maryland Department of Disabilities. They, through their Maryland Accessible Communications, MAT, they have assistive equipment. And so from amplified phones to tablets, and they have many equipment options that are available to make it easier for people to keep in touch. So it's not just for not for seniors, but just for anyone of any age with disabilities. And they provide assistance, and this is they're providing, like I said, telephones and tablets. So I will give the information so it can be posted. But if you want to reach out, the phone number is 800-552-7724. That's 1-800-552-7724. Or you can call the TTY, the voice /TTY at 410-767-6960. That's 410-767-6960. But I will definitely make sure that Mr. Ray Jeffries has this information so we can post it and it can be distributed to our residents, because yeah. So that's what I want to say, and I want to wish everyone a very safe summer.
Great, thank you for that report, Councilmember Brown. Next, we'll move over to Ward 2, beginning with Councilmember McBride.
That you're gonna say much. Good evening, everyone. My report, as usual, is very brief, but I too would like to thank the mayor for the work that you've done, especially with that, with the Career Center for our students. And we realize that our students really need that extra help because they have to, help out family members, and they are unable to complete school, or you have even fathers and mothers that aren't able to really work right now. But my report is basically about, I attended also the Bladensburg House presentation of the check that was presented to us from Senator Malcolm Augustine and Delegate Diana Fennell for the restoration of the Bladensburg House. And I hope I said that right. Later, I attended the community yard sale, which was held by the CAT officers. I did a lot of visiting. Mayor James and I attended the Caribbean Festival. That was my first time visiting. I really enjoyed that. It gave me the opportunity to really get out and be able to, meet different constituents, and I got a lot of exposure. Truly, I appreciate that. Attended luncheon on June 5th, I think it was, with Jolene Ivy. She came to Parkview at Bladensburg for the residents, and Glen Ivy came also. The officers, I truly thank Prince George's County officers because they taught the seniors about scams. Yes, they made us aware. And also, if you see something, say something. My first time attending the first MML Academy for Excellence. I learned a lot. Thank you to all of my fellow council members that really helped me out and advised me somewhat on what to take. I learned about an effective meeting. Woo! So I'm grateful for that. I'm almost up. Learned about risk management also. And attending the Police Explorers graduation, I truly was amazed at these young people and their ages and how much they accomplished. I really look forward to what they're going to do. And that's it.
Great. You did it with 16 seconds to spare. Excellent job. And again, if you want to just share your written report with Mr. Charnovich, he'll work with the team to get it posted. But thank you for that, Councilmember McBride. Over to you, Councilmember Blunt.
Words as usual. Again, I talked with you, Mayor, about what I feel your role was. And again, thank you for all you do, as well as the other council members as well. Just piggybacking off what Trina talked about, the Lifeline with Social Security, that is a Lifeline program. So be very careful in getting your tablets and your phones, because if you have a Lifeline already, the $9.95 internet, it would mess that up. It would cut that completely off. So be careful, residents, community, when you're going out to the stores and getting that free tablet, because you cannot have two lifelines and it will mess your internet up at home. So just a word advice. And also, I don't have a lot of information about the senior picnic this year, other than the dates. Maybe save the date for the 15th or the 22nd. I'll be working closely with Councilmember McBride to put this together this year. Also, as well as another program, working with the mayor and council on a big surprise and for the holidays. So again, that's all I pretty much have to say. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. So let me set the timer on myself so you all know I'm not playing favorites over here. Good evening, everyone, once again, and definitely want to thank our entire team here for the support. Serving as mayor, as a member of this council, it is a privilege, and so I don't take that for granted and appreciate the support when we can branch out and do things like get money to come back to the community to help our students with the Bladensburg Trade School. I did do some checking, and it sounds like that's the largest earmark this town has ever received. And so that was another historic moment for the community. It's not a win for Keisha. This is a win for Bladensburg. And definitely I'm cognizant of that. Want to celebrate all of our graduates who graduated from high school and college in June. It was a busy month, and so appreciated the opportunity to give a message of support to Bladensburg High School, and then also attend the International High School of Langley Park's commencement ceremonies. As was stated earlier, we had a couple of check presentations in June, one being at the Bostwick House for our preservation efforts, and we talked a bit about that earlier and how we can move that forward with getting a project manager to help with the preservation efforts. The other thing that is really important, and that I'll ask Mr. Charnovich to place an appearance for a presentation at the September council meeting for this, but we did receive the Bladensburg Market Feasibility and Economic Analysis report back. And so just want to give the team time to review that, digest it, and then have Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission come back and just walk us through that and help us understand the next steps for moving forward with the recommendations that they have put forth, because this is a major economic development opportunity for the town on so many levels, and we definitely want to keep that progress moving forward. in looking back at the MML conference, that was also another opportunity, particularly at the cabinet secretaries roundtables, to give them an idea of some of our big picture capital projects and help just lay some foundational conversations for coming back and having conversations about additional support with some of those, and also to try to restart conversations with Maryland Energy Administration on trying to get our weatherization program restarted. As you know, we've applied for funding the last few years and haven't been able to get it. And there have been some staffing changes in that agency, but we know we have many residents who are longtime homeowners who may not be able to afford the necessary modifications and things to make their home sustainable. And so this definitely goes a long way in helping those residents, but also helping the town achieve our sustainability goals. In terms of MML classes, appreciated the basics of grant administration and also where to find grants class, the basics of risk management, as we talked about before, and that even is inclusive of when it comes to event planning, such as what we had for Independence Day celebration, just making sure that we're all cognizant of the fact that we're all risk managers and need to incorporate that into our planning as we have events. So I'll make sure the written report is provided to Mr. Charnovich tonight so it can be posted on the website as well, but that does conclude my time. That 3 minutes goes so fast. So with that, that concludes the mayor and council reports for the July meeting and brings us to the point of adjournment unless Councilmember Brown throws a joke out there. So with that, I will call for Councilmember Rout's face. With that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn tonight's council meeting.
I so move.
Second.
It's moved by Councilmember Blunt, seconded by Councilmember Rout. I'll call for any comments, questions, or edits. Okay, one thing, Chief, I'm sorry, forgot to mention National Night Out is coming up the first
yes.
Tuesday in August. Let me just make sure I get the time right for everyone. That would be August 2nd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So definitely mark your calendars and also check our Facebook pages and upcoming e-blast because there's a lot of other events coming up.
I'll be there for that.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you all so much for a great meeting.
Aye.
Thank you to the residents for joining us. We're now adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.